I hate saying okay or so, but you wind up always saying that.
So, here we go.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, no, start going. And,
Yeah. Hi, I'm Chris, and I'm an artist. This is my 1988 Silver Eagle Model 15 bus. 4 years ago, the motor decided to let go on me, and I've been picking away at it ever since. Here at my shop, you never know what jobs, projects, or shenanigans I'll be up to. So follow along with me as I try to get this bus back on the road and get into future projects. This is 11th Hour Custom. Alright, project for today. I'm going to start labeling all these lines and taking them off. I want to get this bracket off, this off, and the throttle linkage off, and this horrible bracket. We're removing some old filters to get this off so this can be painted. I was hoping to get a primer today. This is why you don't put them tight. Jesus. Let's pull the block over. I'm going to start taking line by line off. So this is a big step for me. Wow. Taking this apart. And it feels good to do it. This is like a stepping stone to the end of this whole madness, you know. So this line here has got some wear on it, and I'm gonna see if I can make a new line. A lot of these I may make new. These lines here, these ends are reusable, and I just need hose material. They're actually more expensive fittings. I'm gonna try to get all these fuel lines off, and then slowly work my way to the inside here. So a lot of these lines I'll probably wind up glass beading and painting, and then just getting new hose. But honestly, the hoses aren't really too bad. A lot of these are pretty good. They just look shitty. So we can kind of reorganize some of this stuff so it's not crossing each other. They got this 45 running out this way. It probably should come this way. So these fuel rails are important. This is the one thing good about doing this stuff, is you start to understand how the motor works. You know, you see these layouts of the fuel into this rail, fuel into this rail, and then the return crosses over. This obviously goes from here to the pump, but I gotta work from the inside of the motor out because it's tight, man. These areas are all tight. I'm finally at this point. I mean, obviously it takes time to paint stuff, but the end result is worth it. It doesn't look like crap, but to each his own. I want it to look nice, as well as run nice. Do you think Silver Eagle did it like this? That's what I'm curious of. What's that bolt? So that's our group of bolts. Then we have these 3 bolts here. Oh God, look how terrible that is. Look at that. That's pure shit. So that's gotta get cleaned up. That's the antifreeze side of things. And this bracket can be cleaned up. This over here can be rounded off. That looks like crap. It's weird that you have to remove this to get the water pump off. Although it's nice having the 2 filters right here. It's such an odd setup. I'm sure it's a Silver Eagle thing. Alright, so I'm going to bag these bolts. That's it. Antifreeze. And the fuel filter bolts. This is where I usually go wrong. But see, this is the kind of thing here. It fills this crud in here because of that bracket. And how do we change that? We could probably fix that. So there's a lot of meat that can come out of there. So because of that corner here, I'm just going to mark this for the hell of it. So that's what we can cut out of there. And it's not going to make any difference on this strength. So maybe we'll cut that out of there too. Make it nice and neat so it doesn't build up any crud there. So all this stuff has to be run first before I get on the outer part of this motor. And like this has to be all taken care of before I get out further. Cool, we're getting somewhere. I like it. I'm liking it. Take these off, get the water pump off, clean it up, glass bead all this, paint it, put that turd back together. I cut this area out of this bracket. This is what holds the filters on. And I did a horrible job cutting it. So I'm gonna clean it up with the grinder. This one too, that was good. I used the plasma too and it was terrible. So just gonna clean that up and then glass bead it and paint it. Go look at this. So this goes here. I'll show you over here. It's a little dark, but it goes like that. It's a little better. I was worried about the dirt building up right on this back part. Right there, it builds up sludge. I ran into some dead ends, which are these screws here, this bolt here, and this bolt right here. So what I plan on doing is I'm gonna get these solenoids off and the throttle linkage and the stopper. I'm gonna heat them up, break them loose, get the screws out, and the governor plate on that one doesn't have this kick out here for this. So I'm gonna take this cover off and see what's involved with this. See how complicated it is to change it. So let's light the torch and get these bolts out. All right, so that's it. Let's burn some of this grease off. Just gonna heat this plate up here and see if that helps this. Try to do this without killing myself. I'm burning down the shop. Oh. Probably gonna have to get vice grips on that. You know, let's try this one first. Let's start it on a high note. There we go. Sometimes that's all you gotta do is break it loose. But while it's hot, I'm gonna see if I can get it up right. Yeah. Alright, so that's loose. Now let's try the throttle here. And we'll move back to that solenoid. Get these done, I feel like I did something. Then at least I could take this plate off. There we go. A little heat'll do ya. Okay, 2 more to go. And I think I'm gonna have to, yeah, that's loose. I gotta do it on the other motor as well. I hope these aren't washers. Not. This thing's really rigged, man. There we go. How about that shit? At least we get it close to the end, even though it's hot. I'll be able to pop it off. So right here, I'm gonna heat. This bolt goes straight through to here, and it's threaded right there. So we're gonna heat up that side of the block there. Oh. Alright, so that one's loose. I'd rather have these out too, before I put heat on there. I'm gonna try it and see if it's still warm. If not, I'm not gonna go bananas with it. Yep, it broke free. The only thing good about flathead screws like this is they got a big head to grab with pliers. That's nice. Alrighty, so let's heat this thermostat up here. We'll go back to that screw. Sometimes your muscles have to get warmed up. Striker, 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 striker. So right here is where this bolt is. When I did them on the newer motor, they broke, and I had to get the broken bolts out. So I figured, you know what, I'll just put heat on them. The other day I had a wrench on this bolt, and I could feel it's gonna break. It started to twist. Sometimes a little bit of heat will do a lot. Let's try that. Nowhere near as hot. I packed the torch up. Oh, I think that bolt just broke off. It did. That's alright. So that's off. You can see that little platform here. That's where the bolt just broke. And with the other stuff. So I'm going to take the rest of these arms off. Throw them in the parts washer and take this cover off. And we can see what's inside the governor there. So this is where, right here, is where that one would be, like this. And obviously this is there. So we gotta change this thing. And we gotta take these off. In case you ever wondered. There it is. The inner workings. Man, that's stiff. So that's not too bad. So if I have to change this plate, it's not bad at all. So we'll see how this cleans up, and I'll see if I can get that broken bolt out. You know what? You never know until you take things apart. And being that this thing is completely wasted, this motor, I might as well learn. And if I'm learning, you're learning it. So in case you ever really wanted to see in there, if you're like me and hesitant to take things apart that you don't understand. Most of my learnings from mistakes. All right, so I'm back at the old motor here. We only have a couple things left to take off, which is I'm taking off this fitting, and this also has the Jake brake attachment on it. But anyways, so we're gonna take this off, and I undid the bracket that was down here, and we obviously can't unthread this thing. Fuse primed up. Chain injectors aren't in. So that's out. Now this thing here. So I'm just gonna loosen these up for now, just to see what's moving. Oh. All right, so that's just a switch. Everybody got that? Clearly it just slides on there and it pushes down on that thing. This is how this works. Why is there always like an in-between spot the channel lock works? So that's how it works. Okay, so we have to take this apart. So that nut on the end of that is like a coupling. I took the bolts out of this thermostat housing. I'm gonna knock this out of the way to get that line off. There we go. One swift kick in the butt. I got new thermostats, but out of curiosity. So these are 170s. I bought 180s. 170 it says. I'm gonna take a piece of this hose off so I can get some more hose to make up new lines. I'll reuse these fittings. they're all good. Some of them are rusty, but I clean them up and paint them. I just figured I'll show the craziness I go through. Try to get some of this stuff ready for paint. I'm gonna wrap tinfoil around these, but the reason why I'm doing this is when you open the engine bay, this is the first thing you're gonna see. It's in the back, and I couldn't live with myself if it didn't look good. At least it's gonna look good for a little while. It may be only a week, but it's gonna look good for a week. Cool. So that's that. I'm gonna get some foil, wrap up these ends, tape them up, and then these will stay brass and aluminum. I'm not gonna get too crazy polishing stuff. Who knows, maybe I will. I probably won't. So I'll still be able to get in there with the gun and get all the lower areas. So there you go, that can be hung up. So I still have this to do. I'm gonna tape this up the same way and foil it the same way. All right, so this is where we ended up with taping things out, getting them ready for primer. I'm gonna go get some lunch and come back, and hopefully it'll be dry from being degreased, and I'll be ready to spray some primer. So that was coat number 1. In the meantime, I'm working on this 61 Schwinn. It had a ton of tar on the rear fender, so I was putting lacquer thinner on it and wire brushing it off. Then I'm gonna hammer out the dents and polish the stainless steel and put the wheel back on and take it for a ride. That's my game plan. Then coat number 2 and 3 in there. I gotta go a little darker. I'm gonna add a little black to this. This is way too silver for my taste. That's staying silver. That's gonna go darker. Darker. Darker, silver. Darker. Staying the same. Darker, darker, darker. And then this is gonna be black. Or metallic black. So anyway, here's what it is. Here's what's in here. This little gun's perfect for that kind of stuff. I love that gun. It's been a couple days since I've been here, and I'm taking down the laundry. So this end comes off. So I always try to leave myself an easy way to untape. Try to leave a tail to undo tight stuff. I hate taking bolts out of aluminum. Once they get together, they start to corrode. So let's see what's in Pandora's box here. Maybe that'll help, huh? This cover looks just as bad as the one that was on the other motor. This is my light duty hammer, obviously. It doesn't feel like it's touching that rod. And I don't think it was. So this is it. Everything on there looks normal. The linkage is working. I don't know. So that's in there now. I think it's just that stiff. Now I have this loose, so. All right, so it was in place. It was just, must be really stiff. Maybe it was just slipping on the pin. is what I'm thinking. It seems really stiff. But that's because it's hooked to the injectors. That other one isn't. Let me get the other plate. So here's the other one. So you can see the only difference is this little corner. So we'll change it to that one. And then we'll put everything back the way it was. So I'm going to throw this back on for now, just to keep dust out of there. I'm going to take a marker and write injector crossover, because that's what it looks like. And we'll put A1. There's a little lubricant on it. That's one side. I'll get the hose off. And the hose is reverse thread, so. That doesn't look too good. Let's put that end together. And these will get cleaned up, wired together, and then put in the glass bead machine and painted. This is what I got. This hose I got this morning. This is the right fuel line and that kind of stuff. I got some chafe protection for some of the hoses, and these were like general hoses that I got. I don't think I'm going to use them for anything super important. Everything's either going to be this stuff or this is Parker. That's it. So anyway, so then some of this chafe protection stuff I could use too, and some of the fuel lines and the water lines and stuff like that. Figured while I was there, and I also got a couple new fittings. So I got some backup 3/8. I think these are called number 6s, and then I got some number 8s. I got these number 8s to replace these. They're obviously, so there's some more to replace, but we'll deal with them as I come across them. So I'm hoping to get all these fittings painted today. I was freeing up some of the other fittings. I should have bought some male ends, but they all came pretty loose. So I'm gonna run these back through the glass bead machine and just make sure everything's working good. And then I'm gonna go back in the booth and primer everything, mix the base coat, and then clear them. And then the fittings will be done until tomorrow. We can assemble sometime tomorrow, which means we can get the top fuel rails done. We could start putting the oil line for the turbo on, the water pump on, and the water inlet to the cooler. This is the number 4, and I got the tag that says number 4 for the oil line. This is for the turbo, and I'm just getting the length down for this hose. So I marked it here. Then I'm going to tape it on either side with just masking tape. The tape helps the fraying of the jacketing. So this tape's going to come off. It's just temporary. So that's our length. Our length's done. And I get my cutting wheel. So that's it. So on my vise here, I had these wooden blocks in there, just so I don't damage the line. I'm gonna put them back. So Polly a minute ago brought a bird in here, and the door's open because of that. Of course the bird was alive. I don't know where she went or the bird. So we'll do it this way. So this is the end that goes on this, and it threads on in reverse. It's a 13/16 wrench, and I just turn it until it stops, and then we're gonna thread this end in. And same thing, oil it up. Oil's your friend. So a lot of times these are hard to get started. Sometimes you may have to back this off a little bit if it pinches the hole shut. So when I get to this point, it's easier to take it out, put it in the fitting, like so. They're really not hard to put together. It's just getting them started. Getting them to grab. I think that's it. A little bit of finagling. And once you get them in there, man, that's it. They're in. These are the best kind of fittings, I think. So if that keeps happening, what I did last time is this. This is even a pain in the ass, but it'll hold it. So now we're just going to verify these two fittings. One goes on the water pump, which I would say goes like this direction, and the other one goes on the pipe. But I want to verify how I'm going to run this. So let's go look at that. I'll just give you a quick rundown. So this is the oil line, and this runs from here. So I just want to make sure that clamps on the right side, like that. And then, let me get the turbo line, I'll show you. So this goes like this. And then there's a clamp. This clamp goes on that pipe like that. So this goes like this. Let's thread this in. So we'll go with that. So let's finish this up and we can put it on permanent. So this is the other end here. We're going to do the same thing we just did. So this is probably one of those lines that's like a Detroit product. They don't want you making up your own. So we're going to use this fitting. Put some oil in it. Some oil in here. It always helps. So that's tight all the way down. All the way. Put this in this way and we'll get it started. So this one's a little more delicate. Oil in this. Sometimes you think you got it started and sometimes, you know. This one's working well. Alright, so enough pushing on the pipe. I don't want to break it. I already broke the other one. So now you know if you one of these are leaking, or you have a problem on the road, now you can fix it. Let's do what we did last time. Put this in here. Oh shit. What a dope. Fuck. Well, I'll have to use this side. Let's see how many times I can hit myself in the face. Okay. That'll work out. I don't want to take any chances of bending that hose. And when I say hose, I mean this pipe. So I'm gonna get a bolt and a nut for that. Tighten this in place here. Get some washers and stuff. And then we'll put this bracket in place and then we'll fight that bottom piece. I got a bolt and a lock washer and a nut for this section here. Nice and new, clean. Put the nut down so it looks a little cleaner. So we'll get this squared away. Snug this line down up there just so it's where it has to be. Nothing's binding. Thank God for these bent wrenches. It's like you need to have both. Or you gotta take the turbo apart. I'm gonna do a quick video on this this fitting right here. And the line is right here. And I'm having a hard time getting it started like this. So the thermostat housing goes across here, and this oil line's in the way. So I'm going to try to angle it a little bit and see if that helps. I didn't know, like I took a guess when I positioned it. So I'm going to try to go a little bit more on it. And try to angle it up just a little bit. These are the kinds of things that fight you. And then get our specialty wrench here. Just make sure it's not cross-threaded. Now this is the kind of thing like made me decide that I'm not going to put any of this stuff on until it's in the bus, and like this return line's bolted up and the fuel lines are run. I don't want to, you know, get anything in my way that I'm gonna have to take back off. So I'm just going to get the motor in. So these are the lines that you don't want to fail or come loose once everything's on, because it'll be a nightmare. So that little degree of change on that fitting made all the difference in the world. So now, like this thing has to bend just so around that water line and go in this fuel here. But that's not bolted up yet. I gotta change some things in that. I figured let me get this end in and then we'll worry about that. Let's go check on what Max is doing. He's working on the sailboat. So after I get this motor in, I'm gonna take a break to make a rudder for the sailboat. I gotta do some glass work and the keel. And then I have a piece of coring board right here. And the old rudder's right there. And it's completely waterlogged. How's it going?
It's horrible. I hate it.
You know what? This
This is gonna take forever.
Yeah, it is. It is. Don't touch your face. How's it going?
Pretty good. See, I got this all done. I started up here.
Yeah, it's all got to come off.
It sucks doing that.
Yeah, it's all got to come off. That's what's bad about them yellow suits. The butt rips out. They're a little too short. First thing we're gonna do is clean off that old gasket there. That's what the rag's for. Keep the pieces down from going in there. And then when I put the new gasket on, I'm not gonna put any sealant or anything that glues it down, because I may have to take that back off. So we're gonna get scraping here. I'm trying to stay outboard with my knife so that nothing falls in the motor. Be careful near the new line. As soon as this shit's done, then we'll get to the nitty-gritty stuff. Okay, that don't look too bad. So let's get this rag out of here. Yeah, I'm thinking I got a freaking light on my head. Like an idiot. You know what, I'm just gonna put it on and see if I can get the, I'm just gonna put the throttle body on. So here's the old one, or the one that was on this motor. And here's the one that goes on, that was on the bus engine. So this goes, and obviously I painted it. We're gonna make sure we're in that fork. And then the only thing we gotta contend with is that fuel shot of the is that different than the old one? To think about this. Alright, so you know, let's do this way. I'm gonna take this off for right now. I just want to make sure the throttle linkage is working like so. So we're gonna try to put the throttle linkage on, and then we'll worry about adjusting that solenoid. That's the one that was off that motor. So everything else is the same. So we're just gonna verify what's here. So this is normally how I do things, just because normally I can figure it out, but this definitely cuts corners. That throttle linkage. Okay, so this thing pushes on the back of this thing, which goes like this. And we just gotta get that height right. And then the spring goes on there, and the other one goes over here. So this one goes on over here, like so. So I'm gonna set the whole throttle linkage up like a dry run, like the cooler I did, and then reinstall it with the gasket and everything, and make sure both racks are working fully and everything is good, and then I'll tighten it down. Now I'm not gonna put any sealant on the gasket. I'm gonna use just the gasket, and that'll be that. And my goal as of right now is to button up any holes while this motor sits in the bus outside. I won't get water, moisture, this, that, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's going to get moisture in there, but so I'm going to try to go through everything today to get it ready to go outside. This thing right here was an issue, right? So I went through my photos, and thank God I take photos, and lots of them, because that's not how that thing was positioned. So in the photos I found out that we're just going to break this loose here. This thing, let's turn this way, was this way. Now I don't know why I had it in my head that it was the other way. So that's why all this stuff is loose. So I can just kind of move it around. Now I'm going to make adjustments to this. Now according to the photos, it looked like this bracket right here was all the way down. So I'm going to adjust that, tighten it in place. So this thing goes right about here roughly, and then we'll clamp that down. These are 1032 Allen head bolts. I'm going to put the solenoid in place, which is this one here. And I had some issues with this thing creating rot on the aluminum, so I made this little gasket to go in here. I had re-tapped these holes because one was broken off, and I had a set of stainless screws like I have 1032 stainless like these, but they felt really loose in the threads. These Allen head bolts have a nice tight fit, so I'm just going to go with those. Yeah, actually they look pretty good. I don't think they have to be cut. There's about 3 or 4. I thought it was going to be a lot more. Well, that's fine. So maybe we'll run them back out, and we'll put a little bit of that copper anti-seize on there and make that permanent. And then this thing here can be adjusted, and I'll tighten that down. And then once that's done, then we're going to put this one on. This one goes up here, and then the cover bolts go in. So I think I got everything ready to go here. I adjusted this, tightened it up, and the problem I was having with the airline is this, the spins. So that's why I couldn't figure out the airline, because I didn't even, you try to be delicate with things, but so that's what that was. So this throttle linkage is together here. So I adjusted this, and I must tell you, that's a pretty heavy spring, so make sure you crank down on that, because that's the fuel shut off. We're going to set this in place for now, and then figure out the throttle arm, and we'll put the Jake brake shut off solenoid in place as well. You know what, let's do that first, because that little shelf gets in the way, which we're going to do it this way. We'll tighten this jam nut up. We'll get that straightened out, and then we'll tighten that clamp. These are nice. They're great for lines. Just give this a little snug up here. That's good. And that was like that. All right, that's tight enough. Okay, so that's holding that in place. That feels nice and tight. So now let's put the throttle linkage on. I want to make sure that pin goes right. Let's see if we can get you just right in between that fork there, like so. Listen, I'm going to throw a couple bolts in where this solenoid goes, and then we'll adjust that linkage, and then we'll take it back apart and I'll put the gasket on. So I tighten this thing up, and this is going to go here. These were the bolts that came from this motor. Son of a bitch. I hope I didn't drop that in the thermostat. Guess I should put tape over that. Yeah, they're plenty long. Maybe just grab another one. We'll worry about that one in a minute. Because this is steel going into aluminum, I'm going to put some of that anti-seize on it. Oh, Polly's here. She's ready to eat. God damn it. Why do you make things like that don't fit? All right, Paul, I'm coming. You want to eat? Where were you? Here. This. I heard it pinging. Ping metal. Bing bong, bing bong. Bing bong. Bing bong. There's Bolt. Can everyone see that? No. Bolt and exhaust. All right, let me get a magnet. Bing bong. Okay, I was going through a bunch of stuff I had. I had a box of stuff I bought at an auction, and there was a bunch of farm parts in there. And there's a bunch of these spacers in there. And this spacer fits perfectly. It's even the exact height for what I need. It's from a New Holland tractor. So I'll put a little of this stuff towards the base here, just so it doesn't rust and God forbid it binds or something. Granted, it's not my flavor, it's not painted. But we can get this on and adjusted. Now from the pictures I gathered, and I'm gonna look in my iPad, I think there was 2 big thick washers in here, and I did find 2 big thick washers. I didn't put them in the throttle bag. I don't know why. Sometimes I do that. It almost fits exact. So that I think is the high idle solenoid. So I'm guessing that kicks up the idle a little bit. That's kind of how it was set up, was like that. Now all we got to do is twist this thing in place, and then have our tools ready and crank that bitch down. Now the key is we don't want to bind this on the bottom there against that spacer. So once it's on there like so, I don't like the way that spring sits on there. Let me get a pair of needle nose. I hate to like damage the paint, but yeah, see that little groove? I'm gonna take another look at these pictures and then we'll crank that down. So all this stuff's gonna have to be adjusted once it's in the bus, but as for now, I'll leave it like so. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. We'll come up with something. Now that's how it was, so I'll just clean up that dust. But I'd say that's set up. Looks pretty good. So everything's ready to go and staged. So we're going to get this buttoned up, make sure we're good. Whoops, put the gasket on. So we just gotta get the gasket on. It's a little wacky, huh? Now this one I probably should glue in. Maybe I'll glue the bottom in just so it stays in place, because I don't like the way the alignment is. Figures, right? The one I don't plan on gluing in. What? We'll just put a light tack. Just so the bottom side sticks. I'll get this on here. Get the holes aligned that way. That's the only reason I'm gluing it. The key is getting this little rod in the fork there, like so. Push this. Take these bolts here. I'll put a little copper on. Copper NEC stuff. Just because it's going into aluminum. So So we'll do every one but these two. Alright, so this one here it bottoms out. I'm gonna go get a 1/2 incher. It might be just dirty, but I should have checked that with a tap. I'm gonna get a 1/2 incher anyway. Yeah, that's not gonna reach. Alright, let me get the bottom tap. Okay, we ran the bottom tap down that hole there and then ran the bolt in. So there's the bottom tap. It was uneventful, so I got some Allen head bolts to go in this. That'll make things easier to tighten up. Okay, that's it. It's all on, and it's permanent now. So everything's working. That goes in here, like that. Done. Project done. Cool. That's sweet. Welcome to the end of this video, and if you enjoyed it, leave a comment, hit like, subscribe, share, do all those things. It all helps me try to build the channel. Hopefully this channel will be moving along once this thing's running, and I'm hoping to have this bus running by the end of summer. I'm really not far. My biggest hang-up is the heating system, but I can build around the heating system. I could just run the engine without the heaters. I mean, the heater really didn't work well anyway. We're moving on. There's a big video coming up, maybe next week. Anything I can film that I think may help someone else out. If it's an important keynote that I learned in the process, because I really don't know what I'm doing, but I'm figuring it out along the way. If you see me dive into something and I make the mistakes, then hey, that saves you some time, you know. If you have anything that's plastic and you have cats around, they pee on it. So I've been slowly trying to eliminate anything that's plastic. Because if it's plastic or plastic somewhat texture, even material wise, they pee on it. Right? Are you happy to be inside? You jerk. So thanks for stopping in. I'm sorry it's been so long.